Hi friends, this is Pastor Larry again. Today I want to talk to you about something that most men want to ignore. Most men say they don't have any, but I want to talk to you about feelings. Feelings are very, very important. Feelings tell us a great deal about what you believe about yourself in your subconscious mind. For many years, I think we've all been lied to a certain degree on how to deal with feelings. Especially, I think, in the Christian world, we've been told to ignore our feelings. We've been told to just try to ignore them and walk away like they weren't there. Well, I think we've swept a lot of things under the rug, and overall, it's caused us some problems. And one thing it has caused us, many people today have a problem dealing with their feelings because they think, especially in the male world, they think it's unmanly. They think that if we have feelings, it proves that we're weak, and all that is silly. Our feelings are a direct result of what you believe to be true about yourself, and that belief, that feeling, or that belief and feeling is generated in your subconscious mind. Now, it's important to understand that it's in your subconscious mind because it's working against you under the conscious level. Therefore, you never know it. You talk to people about believing lies about themselves, which causes their emotional upheavals. And many people will go, let's see, I don't think I believe any lies about myself. Well, all they're dealing with at that very moment is the cognition, the cognitive side of their mind, the forefront of their mind. And in those areas of facts and figures, in that area of your brain, you're not going to believe a lie about yourself. But the lie that you believe about yourself that creates the emotional disturbances is in your subconscious mind. And there's a way you can get on top of it, and that's what I'm here to teach you. See, the Lord's promised us that we can live in perfect peace even when the world all around us is going bananas. And I've proven that we can do that. My wife and I have been through quite a great deal over the last 30-some years in ministry. And we've lost a lot, we've gained a lot, we've had a lot of good and a lot of bad and a lot of in between. And we've learned through all that struggle that it's possible to live in perfect peace even when everything else is going crazy. You see, there's one scripture that most people ignore, and that's 2 Corinthians 6:12. It says, the Apostle Paul says, "You are not restricted by us, but you are restricted by your emotions." The same word for emotions is also identified as feeling. Same word. You're not restricted by us. Paul says you're not restricted by us or anybody. He says you're restricted, or you're held back. You're restrained, if you will, by what you feel. That's the bottom line. No one has the power to make you or I feel anything. We feel because something in our subconscious mind is being triggered by a circumstance that we happen to face at this moment. For instance, stress. Stress is not something that comes upon you. Stress is something that is already within you, and the circumstance you're dealing with at that moment happens to trigger that issue, that memory that contains that stressful feeling. And all it is a negative feeling coming forth. That's what causes anxiety. A lot of people suffer from anxiety. Anxiety is just a feeling of fear that is trapped in your subconscious mind, and it's held there by a lie. And that lie can be any number of things. But you've got to identify where that lie is, and then you've got to deal with that lie, and there's only one way to deal with the lie, and that's to get the truth applied to it. And so we've learned, we've memorized, we try to read and study and get all this truth in us, but the lie remains and the anxiety remains. Why? Well, because the anxiety, the feeling in your subconscious mind needs to be spoken to by God. There's only two people can get into your subconscious mind. You are one of them. And the other one is God, if you will allow Him and learn how to work with Him. There's a new deal going on today that they call emotional intelligence, dealing with your emotional intelligence. It's how well we handle ourselves, our self-awareness of who we are, where we are, what we're feeling. It's knowing what we're feeling and why. It's self-management, handling our stresses and our emotions so that they don't cripple us. Mustering good emotions, getting enthused with what you're doing, etc., etc. It also deals with our empathy, knowing what others are feeling, being able to identify and to help others that are struggling. And finally, it's pulling all that together so that we can have a greater level of social success. Well, that's man's methods of gaining peace without God. And I can tell you, you can gain a lot by knowing more about where your feelings are coming from and being able to deal with them and being able to have more empathy toward others. That's all good. Nothing wrong with that. But the peace will only come when when God speaks to the lie that you've identified in your subconscious mind. You see, the lie that used to say, ignore your feelings. Let me ask you this. Have you ever had an impacted tooth, or have you ever had an appendicitis attack? Any of those sharp driving pains? If you have, telling somebody to ignore their feelings is like telling the person with the impacted tooth to ignore that pain. It'll eventually go away. Well, you can't do it. You cannot ignore that pain. God gave us feelings for the purpose of letting us know something's wrong. And emotional feelings are just like the physical feelings of the physical body. When you have an emotional attack, an emotional stress-filled feeling, an emotional fear, whatever the feeling is, a sense of a negative sense about yourself, worthlessness, and all these horrible things, that's the warning God is saying to you, something's wrong in your subconscious mind, and God is saying, I want to talk to you about it. Because you see, when God speaks to it, He is truth, you know. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I always say this, I'll say it again. If you don't have a consistent way to truth, you will not have a good life. No way at all. And so Jesus is that truth. And so when we feel those negative feelings, we can't just ignore it. You can't turn your head and run the other way. You can't bury your head in the sand. You've got to recognize that feeling is telling you something about you. It has nothing to do with the people you're involved with at that moment. Has nothing to do with the circumstances you're involved in. Has nothing to do with anything outside you. It has everything to do with what's in you. And what happens to be outside you at that moment is just triggering something in your subconscious mind, and that pain comes rushing forward, and you feel the negativity of it all. Now, unfortunately, it works so quick that we respond in a negative fashion way before we should, many times. But that's okay. Go ahead and let that response occur. If you were angry, if you're frustrated, whatever you have to go through, get on top of that anxiety, learn to breathe, learn to quiet the mind and all this. And when it's over, go back to the Lord and say, Lord, what caused that attack? Where did that pain and that discomfort come from? And if you quiet yourself and close your eyes so that you don't miss what He's trying to show you, He will show you the memory in which that lie is residing. Only God can do this. You can be analyzed 7 ways from Sunday by every psychologist that has ever been, and they may find or get close to what the cause is. But the problem is they're never sure that they've got the actual root cause. When you ask God to show you the root cause of your emotional attack, or the feeling that you had, or the whatever you want to call it, when you get serious with God and confront Him and say, Lord, I want to know where that feeling came from, then He will show you the exact memory in which you ingested that lie. Could have come through a misinterpretation of an experience, could have come through some traumatic acts, could have come from a lot of things. But the cool thing about it is, no matter how it got there, there's only one response for eliminating it, and that's to hear from God, or to receive the truth from God as you look at that memory. It's important to be in that memory because that's the area the Lord needs to speak to. So He shows you a memory. You ask Him, where's this stuff coming from? Boom, there it is. He'll show you a memory. Don't analyze the memory, and don't question the memory. Well, what's this got to do with anything about God? This can't be right. This took me back to 2 years old. When you ask God a question, he's not going to get confused. One thing about it, God's not confused. And when you ask him a question, he'll give you the answer to that question. You can ask him that same question 13 different ways, but you'll get the same answer every time. So look at what he shows you and trust him. And here's where your faith comes in. See, why do we have faith? We need faith to talk to a God we cannot see, and we need faith to be able to look at things that hurt us and recognize that only God can free us and heal us from it. So you look at that memory and you tell him in that memory, it may not have anything to do with what you just felt. Let's say you had an anxiety attack. And he'll show you a memory of maybe you being a little kid. And that little kid doesn't even necessarily feel afraid, you know. But there's another lie that little kid might feel. Who knows what it is, you know. Chances are if it's anxiety, it'll be some kind of fear. But as you look at that memory without thinking, those feelings will speak to you. They'll come right at you. They'll tell you exactly what they are. If you quiet your mind. Now, quiet your mind. You got to go to this thing with a quiet mind. A busy mind rarely ever hears from God. A busy mind can't determine what you're feeling. You see, thinking is the Novocaine, if you will, that numbs your feelings. That's why people like to look at it, think about it, and talk about it. Because as they do that, it numbs the feelings. So you can go through some therapy and talk about something and talk about it for 45 minutes to an hour, and when you're done, you will feel better. However, 45 minutes after you pay your bill, the feeling will return, I'll guarantee you, because you never dealt with the source and you never got the truth in that area. I don't care what people would tell you. You can hear from 13 different people who know all about you, and when they tell you the truth, well, I felt worthless in that memory. Well, you know you're not worthless. My goodness, don't you realize how valuable you are to your family and so forth? All true, but it's only hitting your cognition. What you need is someone on the inside who speaks right to the pain of the child or the other person, whatever's in that memory. Could be an adult. And what you need to do is recognize when God's speaking to that. Lord, I feel worthless. Quiet your mind. The next words back to your mind will be his response. He speaks right to your mind, you know. Speaks right to your mind. And sometimes people say, well, how do I know it's God, not me? Well, it's God because two things. You had your mind quiet. Number two, you asked God a question, or you told God what you felt. And when you tell God that you're feeling these negative things, he will always speak truth to you. And guess what? That truth has been promised to make you free. Free from what? Free from the lie and free from the pain. But here's another thing. You've got to be willing to speak aloud, or let those thoughts, let those words cross your lips. Speak out what God tells you, because that's the act of receiving and releasing God's word in order for him to complete the cycle. He sent that word, that truth to you, and he expects you to release it. And when you release it, the job is done. God completes the task, and the lie is out of that memory, and the feelings are gone with it. He doesn't replace your memory. He replaces what you believe about yourself in that memory. So you see, feelings are very real. They're there to tell you something. We can't keep lying to ourselves about our feelings. God gave those feelings to teach us and to tell us something. And as we talk to God about what they're feeling, then he will talk to us about the truth. He'll give us the truth. He always gives us the truth. He doesn't give you a sermon, long-winded sermon. He'll give you a direct word of truth. If you say, Lord, I feel worthless, he'll say, you're not worthless to me. You're worth a great deal to me. Or if you say, Lord, I don't feel like anybody loves me, God will come back with, I love you. Very short, very direct, very truth, all truth. And as you receive what he's saying, and as you speak that out of your mouth, the pain in that memory goes away forever. Now, there's one thing I want to add to this, just to complete it. When you finish taking care of the negativity in that memory, let's say once he speaks the truth, now there's another negative feeling in there. Well, that's just another lie. So you just look at it, don't think for a second, let those feelings speak to you, and then you tell God what those feelings are. Lord, now I feel what? I feel unworthy. Well, tell him, I feel unworthy. Let him speak to that. And then once that memory is peaceful and quiet, that means you can look at that picture 3 to 5 seconds with no emotional connection to it. That's a peaceful, free memory. Now ask him one more thing. Lord, is there any other memory that feeds this problem? If there is, he'll show you. And you go through the same process again. Looking at the memory. Don't question God. Look at the memory. Sense what you're feeling. Speak it aloud. Hear from God. Let him speak it to your mind. Speak it out of your mouth. Boom. The lie's gone. The pain's gone. And before you know it, you've gotten yourself free from the negativity that is driving you in the wrong direction and totally messing up your life. Quit ignoring the feelings, friends. It's time to get responsible. It's time to get serious with God. Time to exercise your faith and look at those feelings and know that God has promised us perfect peace. John 8:32 says, "You shall know my truth, and the truth will make you free." He also says in Scripture that my peace, I give you my peace. Well, he expects us to live in his peace. He says to seek peace and pursue it. It's not a suggestion, it's a command from God. He wants his children peaceful because, you see, when we're peaceful, we have an open mind and the capacity now to receive from God. In times of trouble and turmoil, you're going to want to hear from God because the rest of the world around you will be going nuts, and you need to hear from God so you move in accordance with God's plan. Recognize that feelings, quit allowing the world to lie to you about your feelings. Quit lying to yourself about your feelings. Recognize they're there to tell you something. And recognize as you get serious with God, talk to him, quiet your mind, talk to him. He will have a truth for you that will make you free. And you'll find yourself living at a greater level of peace. You'll find yourself having a much greater life than you ever thought possible if you just get serious with your feelings. God bless you, friends. I'm glad you're with me today. I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel. Everything I put out there is going to affect you one way or another. I don't suppose there's one teaching I've got out there that will not affect you. And so subscribe to my channel. Give me a like and a share. Let other people know that I'm here. I want to help you. I want to help you be at perfect peace. Even while the world is falling apart, going nuts, you can be in perfect peace. You'll be that person others will come to and seek advice and help from, and you'll be prepared to give it once you get to that place in life where you're peaceful, quiet, and confident. Just what the Bible promises you. So God bless you. Stay tuned. See you next week. We're going to be posting every week. And give me a thumbs up if you like it. Give me an email. Give me a comment if you struggle with it. And I will be here to help you. God bless you. Keep a smile on your face. Bye.